You are listening to the Hiking Radio Network, where we talk the walk with shows by hikers, about hikers, for everybody. Returning to Katahdin, an Appalachian Trail dream. Have you ever dreamt of hiking the AT? Bruce Matson did, so we're going to follow him every step of the way. Welcome back to Returning to Katahdin, an Appalachian Trail dream, sponsored by our good friends at Trailtopia. This is week number 10 of Bruce's hike and episode number 27 of the podcast. So we've been doing this for more than 6 months now. I must say, when I decided to do this show with Bruce, I knew that I had a really strong candidate who had a competitive streak with himself and a man determined to fulfill this long-held dream of his. I don't think I realised how dead set he was going to be in getting it done. Every week that I call him, I'm half expecting some sort of negativity, yet every week he continues to be positive, on point, and thoroughly enjoying himself. I'm going to give myself a bit of credit here. I don't think I could have chosen a better partner for this project. He even brought our sponsor, Trailtopia, to the table. Talking of which, when I was hiking, I'd wake up to my alarm, deflate my AirPad, and contemplate my blah breakfast. Every morning I poured water into those different coloured paper bags, scrunched around the ingredients, not one of which had any association with fruit, and then eat that soulless gunk. I then find unhydrated powder and sugar in the crevices of the bag. Trailtopia's blueberry oatmeal is a bit of a novelty because it actually has real blueberries. Who'da thunk? No gunk. It tastes great, the bag design ensures complete hydration, and it really sets you up for the day. Try Trailtopia Adventure Food, the best of home cooking away from home. And we're back. Having talked of his resilience, this week is no exception. I caught up with Bruce earlier in the week, sitting on a rock, having a spot of lunch without a care in the world. You're going to hear the occasional wind noise, as well as a rather practical answer to a listener's question about, of all things, long johns. I bet you can't wait. So, here is Bruce. And we're back on with Bruce. Hi, Bruce. How are you?
I'm good, thanks.
Now, where actually are you right now?
Well, I'm climbing Apple Orchard Mountain and didn't quite get to the summit yet, but I decided it was time for lunch. So I stopped a little short of the summit. I've got about an hour left to go, maybe a little less than an hour.
How are you doing? I mean, if you stop for lunch, there's a bit of a clue there, isn't it? Which means it's warm enough for you to stop for lunch.
Yeah. No, it's a very warm week. It's been very nice. Each day's been a little warmer, and tomorrow's supposed to be warmer still and very dry so far. We might be so bold to say that spring has finally arrived.
Spring has sprung, is it? About time as well.
Yeah. Lots of wildflowers.
I'm actually just trying to look where you are right now. I know you went over MacAfee Knob the other day, and I saw the picture of that. You didn't get too close to the end, did you? Didn't get all that close to the edge.
No. I'm not afraid of heights, but Cheryl was afraid of me standing out there. And while I'm not afraid of heights, I really don't need to get too close to that edge. So there's a combination of that and. It was busy up there and people waiting their turns. So it was try to get my picture. It didn't come out great because of the light was the way it was a beautiful day, but the way the light was, that didn't create a great picture. So we have some other pictures where it's not the iconic shot, but it's actually they're better pictures because you kind of had to turn probably almost 180 degrees to get the better.
I know the one you mean. That's you and Cheryl. If you don't mind, I'll put that in the show notes. That is a beautiful picture of the two of you. It's really lovely.
Thanks. That's what I mean. Yeah.
That's a keeper. As I said, I think on Facebook, that is a keeper. And then, of course, you went to Tinker Cliffs. Now, you loved that as well, didn't you? I just think that's so spectacular.
Oh, yeah, I probably agreed with you. I probably liked it better. It just that whole half mile of walking along the cliffs and different outcroppings and a chance to get some different views. And we had a beautiful, beautiful day. So it was lovely. It really was.
So how long was Cheryl with you then?
So if you leave the MacAfee, listen to me, MacAfee parking lot, it's 4 miles to the Knob, and then it's another 6 miles to Tinker Cliffs.
Yes.
Which is a nice 10-mile hike, but then you have to get off the AT if you're spending the night together in a hotel. So there happens to be a side trail called the Andy Lane Trail, and that was 3 more miles. So half the group hiked 13 miles to the side trail. And half of the group turned around at MacAfee's Knob and went back to the car, and then they came to this side trail and picked us up later in the afternoon after we had done the 13 miles, which included Tinker Cliffs.
All right, beautiful, absolutely beautiful. So what mile are you on now? I'm trying to find you on the map because, and I remember certain things I'm looking at now. Which mile are you at now?
Yeah, I'm right at probably 769. Wow. 769. The guillotine is coming up.
All right. I know that you must. In that case, you've passed probably yesterday, or maybe earlier today. I don't know. Bryant Ridge Shelter.
Yeah, I was there last night.
The best constructed shelter on the trail. Didn't you think so?
It was very nice. Yeah, definitely.
Beautifully done.
Here's a weird thing: no one was in it last night.
Oh, really?
3 of us tented in the area, and no one was in the shelter.
And it is a beauty, though, isn't it? Absolutely magnificent shelter. It really is lovely.
Yeah, and I was looking forward to seeing it because, as you know, in the AWOL guide, it gives you a little indication. And there aren't many shelters where he indicates there's 20 spaces. But as you know, there's a couple of levels, and not only a couple levels and nicely constructed, but it's got a little more, outside porch and cooking areas. So it's very nice shelter, as you indicate.
I put my tent up in the outside porch, which was pretty cool. Because I know the reason I stopped there, and I stopped quite early that day, was that there was a flipping great climb after it. And I thought, I don't fancy another climb today. So I left it for myself the next morning.
Well, that's what we did all morning. Floyd Mountain is quite a climb. And
really
completed that. And then you come down and you do a little climb. It's kind of the final climb of the day and you get to the highest point today, Apple Orchard Mountain.
Yeah, I'm looking at you're over 4,000 feet, aren't you? Over 4,000 feet.
Yeah.
You still feeling good?
I'm feeling good. Yeah, I think maybe I thought I would try to eat on top of Apple Orchard Mountain, but I think this morning's climb just I needed a little sustenance and a little break. So I found a nice rock and some shade and a quiet spot, and I just finished a little lunch.
Very nice too. Well, look, I've got a question from a listener, Crystal Glynn, and I wish I'd asked you this when it was really cold, but here's the question. Has he figured out a good way, this is you by the way, to layer his bottom section without having to strip down most of the way to put long johns on and off? I found this as a challenge as I was too cold with only my hiking pants. It was an unappealing prospect to have to take them off in order to add long john bottoms. Curious what other people do in this situation. I eventually just added my rain pants, even if it wasn't raining, but then I had to be careful because of lack of breathability. I know what she means. Taking you off your pants and suddenly in the freezing cold and putting long johns on is not an appealing prospect, is it?
Yeah, no, and it's an interesting question because I had thermal underwear, both tops and bottoms, as part of my winter supplement. Yeah. And it was the first thing I sent home because I never wore them. I used everything else in my supplement and used it all effectively. I was never so cold in my bag that I was looking for those thermals. Now, one reason I think was, as she indicates, it's so cold, you don't really want to take off anything. So I slept most nights in the cold in my hiking pants.
Wow.
A couple of bitter nights when I was out in the snow, I slept in my hiking pants and slipped rain pants on, as she indicates.
Yeah.
The other thing I had, though, that helped a little bit like thermal underwear was the liner. I would slide my pants on into the liner, and then I'd slide myself with the liner into the sleeping bag. So, yeah, I think I wonder if her perception is so good that I was not using the thermal underwear because I just couldn't bear the thought of stripping down, even for those few seconds in that cold weather. And again, it's the only thing of all that winter stuff we went through that I didn't use.
Did you do what I did? Now, I haven't actually shared this with anybody, just so you know. I remember particularly actually at Chestnut Knob Shelter as well. It was really, really wet, and my stuff, I tried to dry it all off, and some of my stuff was still wet, my socks and underpants and stuff. And I put them in my bag. I woke up about 4 a.m. and I was warm in my bag. So I put them on inside my bag to try to let my body heat warm up or dry out these wet clothes. It's a horrible feeling. But once you then wake up 2 hours later and they're dry again, you feel so good, I tell you.
I have done that. Fortunately, I haven't had to do it much on this trip. But I have had occasion to realize how effective your body can be at drying things off. And it is when you've got a limited amount of gear, and it's important to have dry things. I think it's a reasonable option. Like you say, it doesn't feel great, but it's a good result.
That's right. So, where's your next stop then? Where are you looking at Glasgow?
No. You mean tonight? Tonight.
No, generally, when are you getting off the trail next? Going into town somewhere.
So I'm going all the way to Spy Rock. There's a road that is very close to Spy Rock. It's where a lot of people day hike up to Spy Rock.
All right.
And 2 of my buddies are picking me up there and taking me to Devil's Backbone and doing some resupply. So I won't have, that'll be on Saturday.
You're really on home terrain now, aren't you? You really are.
Yeah, I am.
Awesome.
Did a lot of my shakedown hikes in this area. I'm just a little south of the area that I covered a lot.
Yeah.
I do remember Apple Orchard Mountain because when you're on the Blue Ridge, you're pretty close to it.
Sure.
And I remember one day driving back from Roanoke, I sort of stopped, and there's about a mile side trail to go to Apple Orchard Falls, which I just passed. I passed the trail. I didn't pass the falls. I decided it's been a long, hard day, and I've got 2 more climbs left, and I didn't need to add a 1.1 to my day to see falls I've already seen, but it's a great side trip.
Yeah, beautiful, beautiful. So how was it? We've talked about this before, about people coming to visit you on the trail. It obviously I presume it slowed you down. Was that a welcome slowdown, or did you just enjoy it more because you had company?
Yeah, it was just a welcome slowdown. And we talked a little bit a week or 2 ago how maybe I was a little too much of a slave to my schedule, and kind of like, what's the rush? Why not have an 8-mile day and don't be apologetic about it? Right. I'm sensing there's some just this. I don't know what creates it. There's some sense of competitiveness I see out here where people just need to go because other people are going. Or I've got one friend who just insists he should be farther along, so he wants to move quicker. And I think I've got up in that a little bit. So I do want to smell the roses a little bit more. So the fact that friends have come and visited, and maybe I didn't do the same mileage, I don't know what the big deal is. We had such a great visit and such a fun time hiking.
Good.
I look forward to more of those. And, if I lose a day or 2, I'm only enhancing the enjoyment of the trip, not losing out.
Good. And I bet the schedule hasn't gone entirely, has it? I'm sure you still know where you want to stop. So it's just maybe a few more days. Who cares? It's just great that you're enjoying it so much.
That's exactly right. Exactly right.
Now, I want to talk about something which we haven't talked about much, and I know this is important to you, about fundraising. I know you were doing your fundraising for ATC. How's that all going, and what would you like to say to people?
Sure. Yeah, I have not pushed or promoted that as much as I probably should have. I'm hoping that the listeners are aware of the campaign and they can take a look in and hopefully help us out. I did do a little check-in to see how we were doing.
Uh-huh.
And we were right at the quarter-way mark when I was at the quarter-way mark, which I thought was pretty fun. And, one of the ideas was to see if we could have the sort of dollars chase me up the trail. And,
Very cool.
So I'm just now, passing the 1/3 mark on the trail. And so we are slipping a little bit behind. So I think it's a good time to say that we've still got this ambitious goal out there. I'm going to do a separate video on my YouTube channel. I'm going to. Good. I've been just a little quiet about it, and I don't want to be too aggressive, but I think I've been too quiet, and I want to remind people about it. And being out here for 790 miles or whatever it is, it just reminds you every day of not just the value of it to all the people who use it, but the need to maintain it and all of that. So I'll be a little less bashful about it and try to get the numbers up. And it'd be great if we can sort of chase those numbers up the trail and meet the goal by the time I get to Maine.
Okay. Well, we'll put a direct link straight to the page for people to donate in the show notes. So hopefully they can click on that and go straight to where it is if they want to donate. They can go to.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And you've indicated that it could be a little clearer. I am going to be home in a couple of weeks for Brooke's graduation. Yeah. I'll spend a little bit of time on the website to make it maybe even just more crystal clear how easy it is to click and go to the there's a page on the ATC site that actually makes it very easy. So,
sure.
So I appreciate you asking me about that.
Okay, mate. Well, look, we'll catch up with you again before Sunday, hopefully this Saturday, and you're going to be past the 800-mile mark, which is just fantastic. You're going great, and no more twinges. You're still feeling good.
Still feeling good. Yeah.
You're looking ridiculously skinny at the moment. By the way, I knew there was something else I wanted to ask. What did Cheryl think when she saw you?
She was, I think she was very happy. She thought, I looked good, and she wasn't concerned that I was painfully emaciated or might be sickly. I think she was just really pleased. We had a great weekend, and getting me back to my my marriage weight. So it's been a long time. So we'll see how it goes. I'm feeling well, so I'm not worried. I'm sort of glad that I'm losing some weight, and I suspect I'll lose some more.
Yeah, I got back to my teenage weight. In fact, I think I got back to my 11-year-old weight at one stage. It was ridiculous.
Wow.
It was amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, well, look, great to talk to you, and we'll catch up again later in the week, all right?
All right, very good. Thanks. Steve.
Okay, take it easy. Bye.
All right. Cheers.
How about that? Bruce has dropped 40 pounds in 10 weeks. This really is the ultimate weight loss program. You are burning calories at such a rate that you really can't replenish them throughout the day unless you're carrying about 20 pounds of food. You just can't fail to drop pounds. With a bit of luck, he'll start stabilising soon. Cheryl thought he looked well. My Diane was horrified when she saw me. I dropped weight at about the same rate, and Diane hated it on me. Thanks to Crystal for the Long John's question. Let me have your address, Crystal, and you'll have a couple of scrumptious Trailtopian meals winging their way to you. As to the fundraising for the Appalachian Trail Conservancy, I'll be adding a link to the page in the show notes. It was always an ambitious goal, but now that you've met Bruce, you can tell that he's an ambitious guy. So I hope you'll consider supporting his efforts. One thing I've been meaning to do is to consolidate the various shows on the Hiking Radio Network onto one Facebook page. At the moment, I kind of scattergun on Facebook. Every time I put out a new show, I share it on about 25 different hiking Facebook sites. Nobody's complained yet. Well, virtually nobody. So I want to make sure that there is one source, and I hope to be able to rely upon you to share it within your own networks. I'll make a general announcement on the shows when I've sorted this out, and will invite all of you to join the page. If you like the shows, please share them with your friends. You'll be helping me and maybe helping your friends. Now, I've got a bit of an apology about this next chat with Bruce. We scheduled it for yesterday, which is Sunday morning, and I immediately knew that the sound wasn't right. We tried it several times, but Bruce sounded like he was underwater the whole time. I couldn't make out what he was saying, even though, strangely, the recording came out fine. That doesn't make for a conversation if one of us has no real idea about what the other is saying. So, after 4 or 5 tries, I called Bruce on my cell, balanced the phone on a mug, which was placed on top of a bunch of photo albums, which in turn were placed on a box. Yep, I know it's not exactly NPR, but what could I do? Those 4 or 5 tries pretty much exhausted the limits of my technical ability, so a balanced iPhone turned out to be my answer. The sound isn't great, but I think that these chats are always worth sharing. So here is Bruce, tentatively balanced on a pink mug. Okay, we've got Bruce literally on a phone, perched on top of a mug in my study. We're both speaking to the same microphone. We have no idea how this is going to work. First, Bruce, hi, how are you?
Hey, good morning. I'm doing good.
Good. You always sound so chipper these days. It's amazing. And tell everybody where you are, or roughly where you are.
Well, it's a little complicated. I'm in Waynesboro at the Quality Inn, a very hiker-friendly place for resupply. I can see Walmart across the street. Because Waynesboro is the town nearest to where I live in Richmond, very familiar territory, and 2 of my buddies came out and met me at Spy Rock and brought me to Devil's Backbone for some dinner.
All right.
And into Waynesboro for the evening.
All right. You're not living quite the hobo life most hobos live, are you?
No, certainly not today.
So you head out from Spy Rock. So you are going to hit the Priest today, aren't you?
Well, that's a little complicated too. So one of my buddies is going to spend the next 5 days with me,
all right.
And he's planned to do the Shenandoah. So we're actually going to do the Shenandoah. So we're going to skip over some miles. They're all miles that I've already done, but we'll see whether and when I fill that in. I did all of those miles, after October last year, so I would qualify to having covered them.
Oh, cool.
It's kind of a long, complicated story. It also allows me to stay kind of with my friends in my bubble, so to speak, when I'm off the trail for Brooke's graduation for 5 or 6 days. So,
oh, good.
I think it's going to work out. And my friend always had his heart set on doing the Shenandoah with me, so we're going to just keep with that plan.
Was this the plan originally? Then what you were doing?
Yeah, it actually was the plan originally.
Oh, cool. So your new traveling companions, so your so-called trail family, are they now slightly ahead of you, or are they going to be slightly behind you?
I think they will end up slightly behind me,
right.
But it's just hard to tell for certain with the number. I'm not even sure exactly how many days off I'm going to have. It's going to be somewhere between 5 and 8 with Brooke's graduation. So I've got text numbers, and some of these guys will stay in touch, and hopefully I'll catch back up with some of them.
Are these people you tend to hike around most of the day, or you tent with at night?
I hike most days by myself. 80% of the time I hike by myself. Sometimes, catch up with someone for half a day, sometimes for an hour. But generally, it's more about camping at night at a shelter, at a tent site, and
yes,
just catching up, or sometimes you catch up in a trail town or something.
Yeah, amazing. This is amazing, because you mentioned the other day you were between bubbles, and you obviously prefer that. I mean, I used to enjoy hiking by myself exactly the same way as you, actually, doing the hike by myself and then meeting up with people at night. I love that part of it, because you can set your own pace then, can't you? Otherwise, you're trying to keep up with people sometimes.
I think so. Maybe it's our age. You kind of get stuck in your ways, and I want to go at my pace. I want to stop when I want to stop, and it's not. I think it's not as much arrogance as you're managing every day, sort of your mental outlook and your enjoyment.
Yeah.
And I do think some of the younger hikers who really seem to have a desire, a need to be in a family, a tramily.
Yeah.
If you think about it, what's the likelihood that you really are all sort of in the same condition to go do the same miles? And I do think that some of the injuries I see
are from people trying too hard to stay up with hikers they really can't hike with.
Yeah, that was one of my observations when I hiked. That the only person, when you see people in a line 4 or 5 deep, the only person hiking the correct pace for them is the person in front, because they're setting the pace. The others are either going too slow or too fast, and that tends to cause injuries. And I totally agree with that. Yeah, it's interesting you say that about the youngsters, or not necessarily youngsters, but people generally going in groups. How is the trail this year in terms of population as you see it? Does it seem very busy to you?
I would say moderate, and we keep hearing that the bubble is right on our heels, and you definitely see some of those people filtering through, and some of the speedsters are going right through us. But I just was talking to someone yesterday, the day before, and they had somehow gotten some word from a shuttle driver that Four Pines, which is just a week behind us, was getting 40 hikers a night.
Wow.
And that's a huge number. So they are coming. And I think right now, it's as you probably know, it's a little strange sometimes. I had one of the quietest days I can imagine yesterday. I think I only ran into one through hiker and 2 section hikers.
Huh.
And but I had just been 3 nights in a row tenting with a lot of people, a big group of people, and I just didn't know where they went.
It's so strange. It is so strange that I find it so odd that people do go in and out like that.
The other night I came into it was on plan. I went to this fairly obscure but noted tent site with water, and it was 5:00, and it was right on schedule. I rolled in there and I said, well, this is going to be my second night tenting alone. It was just kind of quiet, and I hadn't seen many people during the day. And an hour later, a young woman came in and tented next to me, and an hour later, 8 people showed up. So it was just don't know. And I can't, it's such an odd sensation. There might have been, 20 people just 30 minutes behind me or 30 minutes ahead of me.
Right.
But to me, it was a solitary day.
Yeah, strange, isn't it? Really strange. How has the hike? Because in previous weeks you said your hiker hunger hadn't kicked in, and that's easy for me to say at 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock on a Sunday morning. Your hiker hunger hadn't kicked in. Is that still the case? Because I know you are still losing, or you look like you're still losing weight.
Yeah. What? If you want an update, if believe it or not, if the last scale I was on, I'm over 40 pounds lighter.
Wow.
And I would say I'm eating more, but I'm not like just looking for food every time I turn around. So wow. I'm very content, but I'm not ravenously hungry. I'm eating probably more than I was 2-3 weeks ago, but not I'm not sitting down and eating 2 large pepperoni pizzas by myself.
I can remember doing precisely that thing, actually. Which is probably why I'm now 270 pounds, having been down to 185. Nightmare. Now, on my other show, the Mighty Blue Show, one of the other shows, I've reintroduced something called If I Did It Again. From your perspective now of 800 miles, would you tweak? I know you're really happy with your preparations and you've done great with it. Would you tweak any of those preparations if you were to do it again?
Yeah, that's a good question. I would say we've kidded a lot about my planning and my schedule. And I think that, and this is actually, I'm really looking forward to what I'll call the second half of the hike. And, being close to home, having friends out here,
sure.
It's been really fun, and I really haven't lost much time. And Cheryl came out and did MacAfee's Knob and Tinker Cliffs, and some other friends came out.
Yeah.
And I mentioned this to you before, I think I've been still a little bit of a slave to my schedule. It's like, well, I've got to go 16 this day because I need to do 18 the next day, and then I'm going to meet up with people. And I think, it's funny, I think the podcast yesterday, your podcast had, I think, Styles on.
Yeah.
And she said something that really resonated with me, which was kind of what she would do differently, which is the through hike is a race, and
Yes.
whoever finishes last wins. And
Yeah.
I'm feeling that way because I don't have a strict deadline. And when I pass through Harper's Ferry, I'm planning to be a lot more sort of reactive to the days and the times, and maybe I'll do a 10-mile day and just kick my shoes off in a stream for half an afternoon. I don't know, but I really think that you can, expand the enjoyment of the trip by being more focused on the experience than a certain number of miles. And I'm not sorry I've done what I've done, because I've gotten here, and we talked about this a little bit. I think there's a level of competence and confidence that I've developed, which will now allow me to do some of these maybe more spontaneous side trips, and just not be so worried about getting to the next shelter.
Yeah, do you know what? I think part of that for me and the number of hikers I was around, there was this fear that in New Hampshire and Maine we'd be doing 2-mile days and things like that. But it was nothing like that. We averaged 11 miles through the Whites, 11 miles a day through the Whites, which, while that's not huge, wasn't too bad, So, I think you're gaining your confidence and your legs, which is why I always think going northbound is better, because you've got the legs for that real tough climbing in New Hampshire and Maine, and the best climbing of all, the best hiking of all, I thought.
Yeah, I may not have the hunger, but I have the legs. I've done a couple of climbs lately, and been very pleased that, say, hey, I've got 3 miles straight up, and I just put it in sort of a low, steady gear, and before I know it, I've covered the hill, and it didn't take me all morning. So I'm feeling pretty good about both the mental aspect of having a big climb, but also the physical ability to accomplish it.
Yeah, it's funny actually. Going up hills was one of the big things for me. So I always thought to myself, "There's not a single hill that I haven't been able to get up so far." And I always, right at the very end, I kept saying that, and you think, my God, when are we going to come to the top? And that's what I think. If I did this again, I would certainly have is it altimeter? So your altitude, so really almost exactly how much you need to go, because sometimes you saw these false summits. You think, oh, I'm there, and you weren't, and it was terrible, and I hated that part of it. So, but I never failed to get up a hill, so I think that was important.
Yeah, gut hook, when you're having a rough time, gut hook does sort of give you a sense of
yes,
whether you're at the top or
that's right.
That's helpful.
That is helpful. Now, one last question: how's behaviour on the trail been this year? Have you seen people doing sort of flouting the leave no trace principles, or are people pretty good at that sort of thing from your observations?
I would say pretty good.
Good.
I had one day where I don't want to accuse anybody, but I followed a small group, 3-4 people, and I found very fresh candy wrappers, right 4 of them. It wasn't like, all of us reach in our pocket, maybe pull something out and don't realize, or maybe pull a scrap of paper out, it falls. But this was awfully blatant. And what was really interesting was when I got to the shelter that night, another hiker came up to the picnic table and said, look, I'm not accusing anybody, but someone out there is leaving a lot of crap behind.
Yes.
And he had a sort of a Ziploc bag of additional candy wrappers that he had picked up. And but that's the only time I've seen that.
That's good. I'm really pleased. And once again, I think hikers get a bad rap. And you think of the number of people are out there. If 1 or 2 of them are being stupid, well, they're being stupid. But generally, I found that they got so much of a worse rap on Facebook than actually existed. Nearly everybody I met was respectful of the trail and respectful of other people.
I completely agree. And, we've been at this for a while now. And the other thing I haven't seen, I've read about and maybe worried about a little bit the party scene. And I have not seen, on the trail at Salters, any parties going on.
Cool. Good. I'm really pleased. I asked that, and I'm glad that the response was that it's going okay as far as behaviour on the trail is concerned. And it sounds us like a couple of grumpy old men talking, but You know, it's important, and it's important for the youngsters out there as well. And I think they must hate some of the crap they read on the on Facebook. So I'm glad things are going well. All right, mate. Well, look, lovely to talk to you, and I'm sorry about the technical side of things this morning, but I think this is working pretty well. Just balancing my phone, which I'm going to take a picture of, on top of a pink mug, which is kind of weird. All right, so I'll catch up with you soon. All right.
Very good. You be well.
Okay. Cheers, mate. Bye.
All right. Take care. Cheers.
If you stayed with us there, I hope that you heard that Bruce confirmed my suspicion that the vast majority of hikers are responsible on the trail. Don't believe some of the nonsense that gets pushed around on Facebook. As somebody might say, in his case it often isn't, it's fake news, folks, fake news. And how about the 40 people a night passing through Joe Mitchell's great hostel at Four Pines? I've stayed there and I loved it, but 40 people a night might be a little bit cosy. Bruce is about to be engulfed by a whole bunch of hikers and a whole lot of new friends. Hope that you're watching Bruce's YouTube videos and that you stay online to check out Trailtopia's site for your meals on the trail. Both of those links will be in the show notes. Bruce and I will see you next week.